Hi everyone, this is Sarfraz from Aristotle Prep and we are looking at passage number 25 from the OG13 RC chapter. We will first read the passage in great detail, we will understand the passage properly, and then we will predict the purpose of the passage, and then we will approach the questions. So let's read the passage. The first sentence is always very important. In this case, the first sentence says, all the cells in a particular plant start out with the same complement of genes. How then can these cells differentiate and form structures as different as roots, stems, leaves, and fruits? So the question is, each cell contains the same genes. So how do different cells become different parts of the plant? Okay. The answer is that only a small subset of the genes in a particular kind of cell are expressed or turned on at a given time. So the answer is in every gene only a few characteristics come out. Everything doesn't come out. And what comes out based on that, some become leaves, some become shoots, whatever. So this is accomplished by a complex system of chemical messengers that in plants include hormones and other regulatory molecules. So this expression of genes is handled by hormones and regulatory molecules. 5 major hormones have been identified: auxin, something, 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 something. Okay. Studies of plants have now identified a new class of regulatory molecules called oligosaccharides. So you see, it says 2 more things. It describes hormones, 5 of them, and it identifies a regulatory molecule which is oligosaccharid. So the first paragraph basically tells you why, even though all cells contain the same genes, some become roots, some become shoots, because only certain parts of the genes are expressed, and what is expressed is a function of hormones and regulatory molecules. It describes 5 hormones and 1 regulatory molecule. Great. Second paragraph says, unlike the oligosaccharides, so now the oligosaccharides are being confused or are being compared with something. Unlike the oligosaccharides, which are regulatory molecules, by the way, the 5 well-known plant hormones are pleiotropic rather than specific. So I know pleiotropic means opposite of specific. Okay, let's read on. That is, each has more than one effect on the growth and development of plants. So each of the hormones. So we have understood so much from this first sentence. We've understood what is pleiotropic. We have understood what is specific. We have understood that the 5 hormones are pleiotropic, and we've also understood that oligosaccharides are not pleiotropic. So we also know the difference between oligosaccharides and the hormones. You see so much from one sentence. Okay, the 5 have so many simultaneous effects that they are not very useful in artificially controlling the growth of crops. Okay, auxin, for instance, stimulates the rate of cell elongation, causes shoots to grow and roots to grow down, and inhibits the growth of whatever. Okay, fine, it gives you multiple uses of auxin. It also causes the plant to develop a vascular system, blah, blah, blah. You see, the point is I understood that it's giving you an example of the pleiotropic effect of hormones by giving you several functions performed by auxin. The important thing is it says, because of their pleiotropic nature, hormones are not very useful in artificially controlling the growth of crops, which means the opposite of hormone, which is oligosaccharides or regulatory molecules, will be or could be effective in controlling the growth of crops. You see, so much I have inferred from this passage. So I have actually inferred more than I have read. I actually skipped some part which I was reading, line 20 onwards, but I inferred a lot more. And it's that kind of thinking that will hold you in good stead on GMAT RC passages, especially tough ones like this one. So second paragraph basically gives me a difference between oligosaccharides and regulatory molecules. Not regulatory molecules. The difference between oligosaccharides and hormones. And hormones are pleiotropic. Regulatory molecules such as oligosaccharides are specific. Okay. The third paragraph. The pleiotropy of the 5 well-studied plant hormones is somewhat analogous to that of certain hormones in animals. Okay, now it will give you a comparison with animals. For example, the example comes up. Hormones from the hypothalamus in the brain stimulate the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland to synthesize and release many different hormones, one of which stimulates the release of hormones from the adrenal cortex. I'm not getting any of this, but I have understood what it is an example of. It is an example of pleiotropy in humans, not humans, in animals. These hormones have specific effects on target organs all over the body. One hormone stimulates the thyroid gland, another the ovarian cells, and so forth. In other words, there is a hierarchy of hormones. Okay, this is interesting. I will go back and check this. What is the hierarchy now? So, you see, I had skipped parts, the moment I read the last sentence that there is a hierarchy of hormones, I figured that I can't skip it. I have to go back and understand what is this hierarchy now. So I'm again reading from, for example, which may happen at times, but you have to be in control and realize that you missed something, so go back and read it, because I need to understand what is this hierarchy of hormones. So, for example, I'm reading back now from line number 28. Hormones from the hypothalamus in the brain stimulate the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland to synthesize and release many different hormones. Okay, so see, now I'm specifically looking for hierarchy, and I've understood that there's one major hormone from hypothalamus which is stimulating the release of other hormones, and one of which stimulates the release of hormones from adrenal cortex. So I've understood the hierarchy now. One hormone releases the other hormone, which again releases the third hormone. So that is basically the hierarchy. I've understood it, so I'm not reading beyond. I'm going ahead to the fourth paragraph. Fourth paragraph says, such a hierarchy may also exist in plants. Okay, oligosaccharides are fragments of the cell wall released by enzymes. So you see, the first sentence says, such a hierarchy may also exist in plants. So when I read the rest of this paragraph, I'm trying to actually look for that hierarchy. Oligosaccharides are fragments of the cell wall released by enzymes. So oligosaccharides are released by enzymes. Alright. Different enzymes release different oligosaccharides, fine. But still enzymes release oligosaccharides, not the other way around. There are indications that pleiotropic plant hormones may actually function by activating the enzymes. You see? So enzyme is leading to oligosaccharides and hormones are leading to enzymes. That's the hierarchy now. By activating the enzymes that release these other more specific chemical messengers from the cell wall. What are these chemical messengers? Of course, oligosaccharides. So you see, the hierarchy is hormones, then enzymes, and then oligosaccharides. This is the hierarchy in plant. So you see, that's how I have understood the passage. I was focusing on first sentences, last sentences, and using the rest of the paragraph to understand what is being stated in those sentences. So if I have to restate the entire passage, the first paragraph tells you why, even though all plant cells have the same genes, they become different things because of the fact that only some parts of a gene get expressed. Which parts get expressed is a function of regulatory molecules and hormones. Then it describes or gives you a comparison between one of the regulatory molecules and hormones in the second paragraph. That one is pleiotropic, the other is specific. In the third paragraph, it gives you an analogy with animals and talks about hierarchy of hormones. Okay, in the last paragraph, it gives you the hierarchy in plants, which is hormones, enzymes, oligosaccharides. That's basically the passage for us. It's an absolutely neutral passage. The author has no agenda, but just to state a few things. So having understood the passage like that, we will now approach the questions. The first question is 128, which says, according to the passage, which means it's a detailed question. The 5 well-known plant hormones are not useful in controlling the growth of crop because, very, very easy, I remember it clearly, because they have more than one function, because they are pleiotropic. It's clearly written in the second paragraph. So A says, because it is not known what function the hormones perform. No, because they perform too many functions. So B says, because each hormone has various effects on plant. That is your answer. C says, none of the hormones can function without the others. We don't know. D says, each hormone has different effects on different kinds of plants. We don't know. E says, each hormone works on only a small subset of a cell's genes, but that's not the reason given in the passage. So the reason is clearly because of the pleiotropic quality. So B becomes your answer.